yeah, on the one hand, like I feel like Troy Weaver like hit on those 2 picks, like Jalen Duren,
Yeah.
Asar Thompson, like I feel like
Yeah.
he nailed it. But then on the
I'll
flip
be
side,
honest,
it's like,
I think he hit on the Jaden Ivey pick. Jaden Ivey looks good when Monty Williams plays him.
yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, but then you're left with this core, which doesn't really seem to fit. And I agree with you when I hear that argument that like we got to get healthy. Bogdanovich is out, Monty Morris is out. These guys who could potentially provide spacing, that's great. But those guys aren't going to be on the next like great Pistons team. Like it's probably going to be somebody else. And so you still come back to that core, and you need something. You need something in that core to allow for this spacing. And yeah, I was going to ask you, like, do you think in 2023 you can function with 2 non-shooters on the floor? Like, could the other two pieces around Cade be so good at spacing that you could survive with like Asar and Jalen Duren never really developing a shot?
No. In that
Okay.
case, no. I think there are lead creators where you could make that work. I don't think Cade Cunningham is one of them because he's not like a crazy athlete, right?
Okay.
If you have
Yeah.
somebody that's a super explosive athlete who's going to be driving in transition and doing things like that, then maybe I think it's more plausible. Like, honestly, Oklahoma City, like, we can talk a lot about how Lou Dort has knocked down 3-pointers this year and looks way better out of the corners, I think, specifically.
Yeah.
But it's not like teams like really guard Lou out there for the most part. Like, Josh Giddey does not get guarded out there for the most part. They play 2 guys that are not great spacers, but they have a spacing 5-man, which really helps open up the court. And they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is a walking paint touch, right?
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham is not necessarily a walking paint touch in isolation. You need a screener to be able to do things. When you're Shai and you don't need that screener, you can operate with spacing a little bit differently, right? If you're Cade and you do need the screener, that means that with Jalen Duren, who's not going to be a shooter, in my opinion, you're always going to be probably facing drop, or you're going to be facing blitzes to get the ball out of Cade's hands. And then with Asar, you're always going to have that backline defender at the basket. And Asar has been fantastic as a cutter so far. Have you guys looked at his offensive rebounding statistics yet and like how they compare league wide?
Yes, it's absurd because he's number 2 behind Mitchell Robinson.
And there's like no wing. I think the next wing is like Sadiq Bey at like 39th in the league. It's absurd, how good he is as an offensive rebounder. So I look at all of this and I just say that I think this team has been incredibly poorly built from a core perspective. And that's always been my concern with the Pistons, is just fit. I mean, you look at the teams that are having success around the league right now, the rosters make sense. They fit together for the most part, right? Denver is a testament to how having a roster that fits together around your superstar is how you actualize that player. Oklahoma City, I think, is a prime example of this. They take guys, as I've talked about on this show for years now, great positional size, elite level processing of the game, and high level skill. That's their equation, skill in some regard. Josh Giddey, one of the 10 best processors in the league from a passing perspective. Cason Wallace, great defensive player and can shoot, right? They're looking for that intersection of talents. And because when you have high processors, it just automatically kind of fits together. If you have guys that know how to think the game, like you can use Cason Wallace as a freaking short roll player as a screener, like they have a lot of the time this season, and make it work. Because Cason just naturally understands spacing and ball movement. Philadelphia this year, I think they're a testament to fit, and how last season they played guys that were a little bit bigger and a little bit bulkier at times next to Joel. And then they also played 2 guards in Tyrese Maxey and James Harden, who didn't necessarily want to defend. And Tyrese wants to defend. That's an unfair characterization. He's just small. Now you have Tyrese running the show. You have floor spacers around him. You have defensive players there as well. And their offense under Nick Nurse just looks drastically better. There's a lot more movement. There's a lot more synergy. The fit is where the league is going. You need to find guys that fit around your superstars now, because the super team era is coming to an end. We have seen this with the way that the collective bargaining agreement has made it incredibly difficult for teams to be able to accumulate 3 and 4 stars on a team like the Golden State Warriors, like the Los Angeles Lakers, et cetera, Miami Heat, right? Phoenix is just going to say, fuck it. And we're going to go for it. Right. We're just going to pay whatever we have to pay under Matt Ishbia. We'll see if it works, because the CBA not only has punitive luxury tax, but they also now have real limitations in terms of roster building rules wise that they've put into place to build around those players. Fit is even more important than ever, in my opinion, around your superstars. And I'm worried about that with Detroit right now.